Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Hollywood Knockbusters. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and I've got my awesome special guest. It was actually her idea for this show. Well, it was her idea to review this movie, and I thought of all the shows that I have, that this would be the perfect one. But before I introduce the movie, let me introduce my special guest, Amielynn Woodall. How you doing, Amielynn?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Jonathan?
Good, good. So Amielynn and I were chatting. I think it was during our the other
Mhm.
one we did, and you happened to bring up like this is like one of your least favorite movies or something.
It's definitely the least. It's not one of it. It's
Oh,
the
is the
least.
least. Oh
Yes.
wow, you really have a hatred for this movie. And it's funny because a friend of mine loved it. He said,
Mhm.
um, by the way, you may hear my cat. Um,
My chihuahua's beating down the office door, so you'll
My
probably hear that.
cat is in a really hold on a second. He is talking to me right now. One second. All right, I am back. Sorry, my cat is having some issues. We took him to the vet today, and
Oh, poor baby.
it's been a crazy day. So he's okay. He just needs to be inside for about a week, and he's usually an outdoor cat, loves to play around and do stuff. So, whew, he is out there right now, just probably causing trouble out in my hallway. But he does not like to be cooped up in a room, you know. Um,
My cat doesn't go outside, period. You can leave doors open and he'll sit in the doorway, but he will not go outside.
He doesn't want to go outside. My cat
Mm-mm.
loves the outside.
He's only ever went outside twice in his whole 6 years of life.
I wish my cat was an indoor cat, but he just does not want to stay indoors. And he was found outside, and everything. So he's an outdoor born cat, and
Mine
everything.
was
So
mine was found in a tin horn, like after a storm.
oh wow,
Yeah, he was a feral
maybe that's
kitten.
why. Maybe he's like terrified to go
He was a
outside.
definitely a feral kitten, and he's too young to be taken away from his mom. So the people that found him think he got washed away in a storm.
Yeah.
And since my husband made me mad and told me I couldn't have a cat, I went and got this one all the way from my hometown in Oklahoma.
Oh, well, I'm glad you
But
got him.
he's my baby.
All right. Well, enough about that. We're going to be talking about the
Yeah.
movie The Brothers Solomon, which, as you said before, was a movie that you hate.
Mhm.
I honestly was going in thinking I was going to hate this movie because of your hatred for it, and I couldn't hate it. I couldn't also love it. There are a lot of issues I have with it, but there are a lot of funny things that I got out of it, that with my sense of humor, it totally sort of worked. So I guess the storyline behind this is two brothers who I guess their mother had died
Mhm.
young, when they were young. They were raised by their father, who was sort of this very much I always see the positive out of everything,
Mhm.
but he never kind of taught them to be adults. So it's very like stepbrothers, where they're still sort of kids, they act sort of kid like. Now, Step Brothers is a much better movie.
I absolutely love Step Brothers.
I know. So I can sort of see where this would be sort of like an anti-Step Brothers in a way. It's not as funny as Step Brothers nearly,
Mhm.
but it sort of has that Dumb and Dumber vibe um that maybe that's what you don't like about it, because like
No,
some
I
of
love Dumb and Dumber.
okay.
I
So
just it's this movie. I don't. It's
all
not
right.
Will Arnett's finest work. Okay.
Okay. So yeah, so Will Arnett, and it was also written by Will Forte, who's
Mhm.
the other brother, and he gave himself I guess the lesser part, the smaller, but still, I mean, both of them are significant part in it. And they both do it so well. And plus, honestly, when I was yeah, when like before, I think on Saturday Night Live and other things, I got Will Arnett and Will Forte mixed up all the time. They sort of do look like brothers, like I could get
And they're
that.
both named Will. You know.
And they're both named Will. So I mean, it's sort of weird that it all worked out that way. But I really I like I said, I wanted to I wanted to hate it, but so the story is like they haven't been sort of taught like social skills. They were homeschooled, and both were homecoming king tied for it, and then he broke the tie or whatever. I mean, it's
But we
just
got it. The homeschooling thing, like you saying that their dad raised them after their mom passed away. Anything that they wanted or they could come up with, their dad made it happen. They wanted to live in the North Pole, right after their mom died. So the dad moves them to the North Pole, and they're doing this weather station thing. And they were the only two students in the entire school.
right,
And the prom killed me, man.
right. So
Ah,
but yeah, so they were they're kind of raised to sort of to be I don't know, like sort of uh socially inept,
mhm.
because they weren't taught social skills, how to handle everything. They were also taught, once again, that if they wanted something, they just went to dad and dad got it for
Got it.
them.
Yeah.
And so when their dad is in a coma later, which they were too late to get to him because they had to argue a fee
Late fee
at a
on a
video
movie.
store, and then and go get a movie because they got a free credit or whatever. So they, all that time they took, the dad had passed in a coma or whatever, and Dr. Wong or Wang, which one was first? Was Wang or Wong first? Because Wang was like, I think he was Dr. Wang was the doctor who helped with the father, and then there's Dr. Wong, who is another character who we only meet for like 2 seconds, but we hear about through, and they kind of get those two characters mixed up at one point. And then there's also other doctors. There's a lot of doctors in this
There's a
movie.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they figure out from Dr. Wang that like the way to, you know, keep their dad to potentially keep living through the coma is to give him something worth living for. So they decide we're gonna get a kid. We're gonna have he's gonna have a grandson, and they're already striking out like with like relationship stuff. Like they can't, they're just dumb when it comes to dating, and you
Well, it's like
know,
you said, they weren't raised the proper social skills, so they're striking out in every aspect of life, especially with the
yeah,
ladies.
especially with the ladies because they
They
just
weren't,
don't.
yeah, they weren't raised around women. It was just them and their dad in the North Pole.
Right. And they also just don't know how to talk to people the
Mm-mm.
right way. And I kind of like movies and shows like this. Big Bang Theory is one of my favorite shows of all time.
Oh yeah,
And Sheldon is like a character who he might be on the spectrum. There's a little talk of that, but they've never diagnosed him with anything or whatever. But he is sort of like this character who talks like he doesn't understand boundaries. He doesn't understand saying the right thing or the wrong thing. And these guys kind of feel the same way, where my favorite scene in the whole movie is them talking to that guy, James, who happens, well, I guess we'll get to that. I guess we'll get to that because we have to introduce these other characters.
yeah.
So they realize like they're gonna want to they try to adopt and they kind of let the adoption guy, played by the director, Bob Odenkirk, who I love. He's Saul.
And he was also in this movie too.
Yep. I'm saying that they go to him to
Mm-hmm.
talk about adopting, and he overhears that basically they're terrible. And you just like,
Yeah.
they just say whatever's on their mind because they think that's okay, Like, when they say things, they say mean things about the kid's son, they literally aren't doing it to be mean, you
No,
know?
they're just stating their observations.
Right. And they don't realize like this is not how you do this thing. And I think honestly, some of that has to do with homeschooling, or,
Mm-hmm.
or the way that they were brought up like that. Because, when you go to school, and some kids may not have been really good at school either, good at, socializing in school. But generally speaking, when you go to school, you meet kids, you start learning how to to converse with them. You learn how to pick up social skills and stuff. And when you're homeschooled, you're sort of not, a lot of times you're not kind of taught that unless there's like kids in your neighborhood, or you know what I mean? Like, but if you're kind of just sheltered, you don't know how to do that. And I feel like these kids are that way, or what, for these men, now, are that way. So they decide, well, okay, adoption doesn't work. I can't get a girl to want to do it. So
well, they did have a girl.
That was, yeah, well,
she was going to do it, but that bus had other ideas.
That's true. She was about to do it. However, it got a little weird because she was kind of like saying at one point that she was happy to have the child, and I think she was going to keep, whatever. So it might not have worked out even if they got it, because she might have like wanted to keep the child and not give, you know what I mean? And maybe, I mean, it sucks, the bus hitting her and everything. And so also, meanwhile, they're keeping their dad at, what is it? What's his name? John? I think it's John Soloman. And there's John, and there's, I'm really bad with the names on here. Do you remember the names? I'm looking it up right now. The Brothers Soloman. Let's see. So there's John, who's Will Arnett. I can't say just Will.
Dean is the other
is Will Forte. So John brings their dad to Dean's place. Did not tell him because he wanted a surprise, and it had a very Dumb and Dumber like line where, like you think it's gonna go where he's upset at him, but then the whole time he's like, this was the greatest idea in the world, and so I mean, I was like, okay, I can kind of see where this is sort of Dumb and Dumber like, and other people in reviews have mentioned this, so I'm not the only person that probably picked that up. Then so they decided to go on Craigslist and say, and announce it. And I think that was back in 2007 when Craigslist, you could probably do a lot of these things. Craigslist has now been very careful about things because, there's certain things you can't do on Craigslist anymore because you would get in trouble, or there's been like the Craigslist killer who's shown up and stuff. So, but yeah, so they wanted a baby. The girl wanted $10,000. And she got them up to 12.
Yeah.
And that was Kristen Wiig, who
I love her. I love her.
I do too. And I actually was at a premiere that it was like a screening of that Barb and something star go to Vista Del Mar or whatever movie that she was in, she produced, and apparently she was there. I never saw her, or if I did, I didn't recognize her or anything. But she was supposedly there. That was like, they were trying to tell us, like, when we were like working there, not to go bother her, or whatever. Like, if you see a famous person, they didn't say who, because they didn't want us to like go looking specifically for her. But they said, if you see a famous person there, don't go talk to them. And I was like thinking, unless they talk to me, I have no reason to talk to them. So anyway, Kristen was awesome in this movie. I really liked her. She was very sweet. Now I think his name's Che McBride was played James. And I've liked him a lot too. Big guy. And he's always plays this like sort of like fabulous character. Like, he can always do a great job. He was in Waiting, and he was in a bunch of other stuff. Just always love when he comes on. And he was hilarious as the ex-boyfriend / current boyfriend of Kristen's character. And so they have this So she decides to keep the baby and give it to or to keep to give it to them and everything. Have the baby, but through sperm donation. Now, I will say I will ask you this before I forget because I will forget this, and I want to know your opinion. Why did the baby turn out black?
James.
Right, but it wasn't James's sperm and it wasn't.
I'm betting she was already pregnant, or that didn't take, and so they got together before she went back and got re-examined to see if the insemination took.
They never answered that question. They didn't even
Mm.
they don't even talk about it. It's not even it's so strange of an ending because I just like
The
just
da-
like
the dad, Lee Majors,
mhm.
he caught on. He was just like,
I know, I saw that, but
but his boys were so happy that they were daddies.
mhm. Lee Majors, oh man,
Oh my god, yeah.
what a fantastic actor to have on your. He is so great in comedies, and he's so underrated in comedies because he never got used in comedies much, and I don't know if he's still alive. I want to say he is. Yes, he is. Good. Whew. I get a little freaked out sometimes when they're a little older, because I don't know, but I think he's very he's the what was the $6 million man of $6 million man. So
And the Fall Guy.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, the Fall Guy.
Mhm.
Yeah, fantastic actor, and he was so great in this. Even though he's not in it for too much, most of his stuff is, like that must be the best job when you're an actor is literally just pretending to be in a coma. Like
yeah.
you know what I mean? Because all you gotta do is sleep on set, or whatever. I don't know, and you get paid to sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, how awesome is that?
Right.
So, meanwhile, well, I was gonna say, so James, the ex slash current boyfriend, he I guess needs a ride home, so the guys drive him home, and he says something about, they're like, oh wow, that's a really nice place you got there. And he's like, why are you surprised? It's because and he brings it up because is it because I'm a black guy? Is that it? And they're like, no, it's because you're a janitor. And he goes, oh, you think that if I was a white janitor, like this would be, you wouldn't be surprised? I was like, yeah. And I laughed so hard.
That did make me laugh because they were just so brutally honest. Like, yeah.
Right. And I think that's where James actually liked them, because even though they were rude in a way, which they did not mean to be,
No, saying that's the thing. All of their behaviors throughout this whole movie was not intentional coming from them. That's just how they are.
Exactly. Kristen Wiig says it the best when she tries to talk to, and we haven't even mentioned her yet, but she talks to the kind of the bitchy girl who John wants the whole time. Malin Ackerman playing Tara. Tara's just like this terrible person in a way, but in a way, she's nice for helping them out all the time. And as far as I know, they don't pay her, or do they? I don't think so.
I don't think they ever did. No.
Yeah, I don't think they just kept asking her, could you help out? And she said, yeah, and I'm like, really? She could say no at some point, but she never does. And she always helps out when she can. And I don't know, maybe she just likes doing stuff I don't know, because she has no interest in either of those guys, and she even says she thinks they're losers, or whatever.
I think it was because she's in training to become a nurse,
so it's help.
Yeah, it's helping her career, and
yeah. So they have Malin Ackerman's character at their house. At one point she's just there, they didn't even know she was there. And apparently every single time it's a bathroom. She's coming out of the bathroom.
What was her deal with the bathroom? Every scene that she was in their apartment, she's coming out of the bathroom.
I almost want to say that was a running gag that they wanted to keep going so that when she doesn't come out of the bathroom, and it's
At the end of it, it was Kristen Wiig's character.
yeah, they wanted that surprise. They wanted you to think it was her because they even said, "Oh, she's always in the bathroom." I go, "Oh crap, Kristen's in the bathroom now." And they televised it. That was the only problem I had with that. It's like they televised that part. So Amielynn Ackerman is in it. She's so sweet. I love her, by the way. I don't know if you've seen the movie Final Girls, but she's amazing in that. And she's on a show that I love called Billions. She was in The Heartbreak Kid. She was in
Couples Retreat.
Yeah, Couples Retreat. With just amazing actress. Like, I love her, and she's so freaking good in this movie. She kind of even though she's a bitch, like her character's a bitch the whole time. I mean, honestly, like, I don't kind of blame her at times because he does come off like either John comes off kind of strong and at times and stuff and saying things that like I'm like, okay, you're a little creepy, dude. And
I think that's where she was coming from. She didn't necessarily mean to be a bitch, but that dude was a creep. I mean, I would have never held that elevator for him after the first time.
Right, you'll be like, hey, I gotta go. Sorry, I want to be by myself in this elevator ride. I don't know. It was crazy. Anyway, so Amielynn Ackerman and all the characters are just sort of, to me, they're sort of fun. Like, I enjoy everybody in this movie. Even the creepy, they do all these things, but they do it wrong. Like every single thing you would think would be an easy task for them to do. Like when they want to learn how to be a dad, so they want to learn from an actual kid. So they
God, the playground scene.
The playground scene, and they're just like, "Hey kid, you want ice cream?"
Yes.
And then the kid's like, "Yes," and then the mom's like, "What are you doing?" And like, "Oh, we're bringing your kid to go get ice cream. Do you want to come?" Like, I was dying. I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
That was one of the funniest. That scene.
And every scene it showed them driving, where they would just drive like in park. They couldn't go anywhere without ramming into something or wrecking. Every single scene that
they couldn't get.
I did like that. That was funny.
Yeah, like they were driving at one. Even the first time you see them driving, they're kind of coming into this like kind of, I don't know. They can't seem to make it through this like little like road, I guess, but it was almost like an alleyway that they were going.
Oh yeah, like
down.
They were coming out of that parking garage.
Yeah, but it was so weird how they kind of like kept bumping. Yeah, it was funny.
I mean, movie isn't that bad, but I also had to watch Nacho Libre 3 times before I decided I liked it. And now I can watch it on repeat. So,
yeah. So, yeah. So I don't know. That's the funny thing. I don't like a lot of Jon Hedder's stuff. Like I don't like Napoleon Dynamite. I don't like Nacho Libre, which I think wasn't him, but was Jack Black. But it was done by the same guy who did Napoleon Dynamite, if I'm correct. But I dig this movie. I don't know. Once again, I think it's because it's so stupid that I laugh. Like, I'm like, wait, these guys don't understand that you're not supposed to pick up a kid at a fucking park, and stuff. And then when the cops come, they're continuing they're like, excuse me, and continue their conversation, I just think that's really funny.
Yeah, and then when the cops are asking them, like, what are you doing? And they're just so matter of fact. Yeah, we're trying to lure these kids in our car, they can get out. I'm just like,
we're waiting for their mom to go away so we can snatch their kid.
Right.
And I'm just like,
oh my God.
And then when they get, they reminded me of Justin Bieber when they go to get their, what is it? Pictures taken at the jail or whatever, and all of a sudden they're smiling the whole time,
Mhm.
like because they're just happy no matter what. Like they take the negatives and they turn everything into positives,
Yep.
as much as they can, and it's sort of a really cool concept of like how can people take all of these things and turn them into positives, or whatever. um my other favorite bit is the fact, and I had to look this up, by the way. I'm gonna bring this up, but they those guys actually what is it did the skywriting thing. And I mean, it took them a while to realize that that's what they needed to do, right? So at first, they look up in the sky and they're like, I got a great idea, and they go to the thing that is written on the sky, right? And stuff. It's like, all right, now we gotta figure this out. There's something in there, right? You look back up in the sky and they decide to go, well, what is it? John decides, and then and Dean's thinking of something else, which had nothing to do with.
No. And then they're like, can't believe they charged $50 a letter. Good thing we cut it short. And then it was a whole freaking paragraph.
Do you know how much that cost them? It wasn't a paragraph. It was like longer.
Yeah.
It was like a novel, short novel. The sky banner at the end of the movie contained at least 390 words or 2,070 characters. Since the cost was $50 per letter, assuming they counted the punctuation and 32 plus periods as letters. Remember, there's 32 periods in that thing too. That exorbitant, I can't say this word, long banner would have cost the Soloman brothers $103,500. With a 6% sale tax, the total would have cost them $109,710.
Then it's like, what did they do for a living? Where'd they get the money?
I don't know.
Like all this medical equipment for their dad, all this stuff. And I'm like, where's this money coming from?
Maybe their dad? And that's the only thing I can imagine. It's like their dad had all this money and they just were able to get it from him,
And then with the caliber of the comedy in this movie, none of that was supposed to make any sense anyhow. So
yeah, I think they were just trying to like throw so many things at the wall and see what stuck. Like every scene was almost like they were trying to up the last scene that they did to make you go, what the hell am I watching, in a way. And I kind of like that, but I kind of, after a while, I was like, I like, you have to kind of look at it as this isn't this isn't real. This is fantasy, or whatever. This isn't, you can't take this seriously at all, like, if the big joke was supposed to be, oh, we were paying $50 a letter. We kept it short. So when it starts going, my name is John, right?
Yeah.
And then you were you're like, oh, that's all they did. And then bam, they get like a whole bunch of things, and people are reading it, and and everything like that, and people are saying the words out loud because they're just like, what is this, or whatever. And I love that. Like, I wouldn't do that. No, I wouldn't spend $109,000 trying to reach somebody.
No.
Like, have they thought about texting or Craigslisting?
And there was one thing, like, I didn't realize how old this movie was either. It's like 13 to 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even realize how old it was.
Yeah. 2000, like I said, 2007 was the year it got released. 2008 was when Step Brothers came out. So I'm almost thinking that Will Ferrell watched this movie and go, I can make something better with Brothers, Yeah. And he did. He made a better movie with Brothers. I still think Will Forte is a really good writer. I just think that this movie sort of almost felt just very weird, like too weird, maybe, and I think maybe that's why people signed on to do it, right? I mean, we have Kristen Wiig, we have Chai McBride, we've even got Jenna Fisher in the movie. And I absolutely loved that scene where he's like chatting with her up. She's the girl from The Office, and she's just like he's at dinner with her, and he said, was it John says, oh, your face is so beautiful, and she's like, thank you. It was like, it definitely covers up for your body, if right. And she's like, what's wrong with my body? It's like, oh, it's okay. Your face definitely covers for your and I was just like, what the fuck?
And then he straight up asked her, are you ovulating right now?
Yep. And she was like, that is not something you ask somebody.
And then he proposes to her.
Right. And she's like, no. and that's the funniest thing is like when people hear something in they go out to dinner and they hear somebody propose to the other person, they don't want to hear no, right? Generally, people don't hear no. Generally people hear yes or whatever. But like, this is their first time meeting, and he wants to, I guess, get married to her so he can have the baby, and they can just get right to that, stuff. Like both of them go about it the wrong way, for everything that they do, which interesting. I mean, approach to filmmaking, I guess. I don't know. I like when you said this is your least favorite movie, I was just sort of shocked because like I have least favorite movies. This would not be on my least favorite. In fact, when I saw it, when I went to the IMDb, it's 5.3 on the IMDb, which is not even as low as it probably should be. It should be probably lower, but people seem to dig it in a way, like the absurdity of it, I guess. So I understand it. I gave it 2 stars. I don't think it's that great, but I don't think it's that terrible. Like,
and I don't know what specifically about this movie that makes me dislike it so much, because there's so many talented people and there are some really good comedic moments in it, but just overall I'm just like, no, man.
Yeah, I mean, overall I think it could have been funnier. I feel like the characters kind of after a while they do sort of wear thin, and you're sort of like, I don't really like these people, like. But even Kristen Wiig has a line in the movie as Janine. She kind of says that these guys are, what is it? Basically, their hearts are in the right place. That they're good people. They really are trying. They just don't know how to do it. And I think that's the only thing I like about the movie is that even though there's such creepy people at times, we didn't even mention the time he had the dinner on the floor
in the hallway.
And he's like knocking on the door, and then the girl's boyfriend, I guess, it I think his name was Todd or something. No, Ken. She was like, hey, Ken. And then she looks over and goes, hi, how can I help you? And he was like, oh, I want to take you out on for dinner. We're already got dinner plans. Okay, well, I'll be, I'll be doing this, a bunch. It reminded me, we reviewed for Quick Review Thursday, reviewed a movie called 8 Days a Week that back in the 90s when it got out, was probably a pretty funny movie, right? Because I remember liking it. watching as an adult now, like where I'm not in high school anymore and whatnot, I look at it and it is very cringy and is literally about a guy who sits at he's fallen in love with this girl, Carrie Russell, and he falls in love with her, and he finds out that like his great grandpa or something sat sat outside the love of his life's house until she married him, right? Now you would just call the cops and have a restraining order on that person. But for some reason or another in that movie, they allowed him for a movie, so the movie could keep going. They allowed him to do that, and then the story continued. And I'm just like, nowadays, no, you can't do that. That's very creepy and not cool. And this dude does so many creepy things, but he just doesn't realize, he doesn't think of them as creepy. He thinks once again, he's socially inept. So he thinks what he's doing is the right thing to do. And I don't know, it doesn't bother me. I like once again, I still don't see what is the worst movie of all time. I could probably show you some that could definitely go, beat this.
And like I said, I don't know. This movie does have some really, really funny, but it's just, I think also the speed of the movie, it wasn't enough to keep me to pay attention to it.
For real?
Yeah.
For some reason, I actually thought that I thought, for a person like me, I have ADD. So I'm not diagnosed, but I'm pretty sure I have ADD. But it kept my attention. I was like, oh my God, that's happening. Oh my God, what in the world? I think if they, because they get to the baby stuff pretty quick, and realize, okay, we need to figure out how to get a child so that we can get the dad, and the dad does wake up basically after the baby is born. It's like I think a year after the baby is born. It's like 1 year later. So the guy's in the coma for like a year and a half, or longer,
And then at the end of it, when they have that baby safety store, they got the dad in a chair in the store.
Yeah.
Still in the coma. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of funny. I
did like that scene though, the safety scene when they're talking to the guy in there who's buying the stuff, the baby safety stuff for his kid, the stuff that they were saying to him. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. I was surprised.
That was funny.
I was surprised he was okay. Like, he was buying stuff from them. I would have been like, you guys are kind of creeping me out. I'm out of here. Like, I don't believe any of this, stuff. The stuff that they were doing to prove that they could be a good, dad or whatever, like dropping the baby from a fucking, which wasn't real. I mean, they had a doll, what?
It was like they dropped him from stairwells, they dropped him from 2 stories up, and all the different diapers.
I'm like, if the baby is going to be falling from there, he's dead.
Yeah.
Like, if you catch him, he's dead.
What about the dead duck and the popcorn?
I don't remember that.
The dead bird. You don't remember the dead duck scene?
No.
Whenever he changed diapers and each diaper had a different thing in it.
Oh, okay. I did not.
And there was a little dead. They just said dead bird, but it looked like a dead baby duck mixed in with the popcorn.
I remember they're like, that's Snickers. And he goes, and the girls is like, that does not smell like Snickers. He's like, oh, Snickers is the dog that next door, the neighbor's dog. And I was just like, oh God. It was just some things that they were doing and saying. I mean, and just the way things are, sometimes it was just weird because they were trying to confuse you at times or something. Like, there's that one point where they find out that they are pregnant and you don't know it. You don't know whether it's that she got pregnant or she didn't, right? And all of a sudden he threw the chair through the window. And he was like, you just don't know how you're going to react.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be like, when I first saw that, I thought that was just going to be like them being mad.
Yeah.
were upset that it didn't take, and no, he did that because he was happy that it did take.
That did take it. It made no sense. It was just like, but it was there to make no sense so that you thought one way and then did the other
Yeah.
thing. I think that might also be another thing that you don't like in this movie because it does that a lot. It does where it tries to confuse you, like the long lettering and stuff. They try to fool you into thinking one thing, and it does it too much that it just gets kind of like old hat. Like, all right, come on, let's. This joke is wearing thin pretty much. This is something like I don't think a lot of people would like. It's a very absurdist. It's very weird. But I don't know. I can't hate on it. It does not come off pretentious, which is good. A lot of these movies that are just weird and whatever, they feel pretentious. They feel like they're being like one of my least favorite directors is Wes Anderson. I really loved his first movie, Bottle Rocket, but everything after that, well, maybe Rushmore too, but like Royal Tenenbaums and The Great Budapest Hotel and the Isle of Dogs, stuff like that. Just I don't find them funny, and I find them kind of weird, and I don't, and the sense of humor is dry. This came off like, okay, we're gonna do something weird, but we're gonna make it a wacky comedy,
and then like we both like touched on how it was like Dumb and Dumber, a bad version of Dumb and Dumber. Not, and then it was also Will Arnett's ex-wife was in a movie with Tina Fey where Amy Poehler was Tina Fey's surrogate.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it ends up not being Tina Fey's baby either.
It's been a while since I've seen that movie, but Baby Mama.
Yeah, yes, I saw those similarities in with this movie as well.
Yeah, maybe that's another thing, like because a lot of movies are trying to be like doing stuff about comedies back then. You also had like Knocked Up, which I think was a lot better, but like obviously much better than this movie. This movie, it's not hard to beat this movie, honestly. But Knocked Up was a funny movie because it was about finding out the person's pregnant and then figuring out how to be a father. You have to read the books, you have to do, all these different things. And she, even though, it's so weird because that movie, I think that came out in 2007. So there were a lot of movies that were sort of like this, where it was big on being a father and the sort of the wrong way to do it. Jersey Girl, sort of had that, feeling, but I thought that was much funnier than this movie. I don't know if you ever seen that. It's a Kevin Smith movie. Yeah, I love that movie. Which that got panned by the audience. Like a lot of people hated that movie. I actually think
I liked it.
Pretty funny. Ben Affleck actually one of his really good roles, and stuff where he's like comedy roles, and he should do more of that. Now he's getting stuck doing like drama or being Batfleck or whatever, he's not, he doesn't get a lot of chances to do comedy as much unless he's working with like Kevin Smith, or whatever. Yeah, so this movie had sort of that thing going for it in 2007 where it was just like so many of these movies were getting made. I guess that was the thing. Like, I bet a lot of people knew what was happening in Hollywood at the time. So they were like, oh, Judd Apatow's making a movie about fatherhood or whatever, becoming a father. You guys should make one, but just silly, or maybe that's sort of what happened. And I don't know. I think Will Forte has some really good moments and with the script, but I think all in all, I think it is sort of lacking it should be funnier than it is, and I agree with that, but I once again, I can't rate this as like the worst. I
said, and there's not any one certain thing. It just couldn't keep my attention.
Yeah.
at
Comedy's
all.
hard too because everybody has their definition of what's funny, you know? I could tell you a joke and you could think it's the funniest thing in the world. I tell somebody else and they go, oh, everybody's taste is different, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
and that's fine.
Hmm. Oh,
That's
definitely.
I love that actually. It's same thing with horror films, what's scary to you, you might be scared of clowns, you know,
Okay, Jonathan.
you are.
God,
I forgot about that,
I
but
hate them. Oh.
see, you might be afraid of clowns. I don't find clowns scary at all. I don't know. Just
And it's
never
not even
happened to me.
that. It's not that I'm scared of them. I just think they're gross.
Well, see what I'm saying is like some people have like certain my niece hates clowns.
Hmm.
So when I post the thing with the clown, that thing doesn't bother me. But yeah, but of course Kelly had to tag you in that, and so did my sister had to tag my niece. And I'm just like, that's funny to me, like, because it doesn't bother me. And comedy's the same way. Like, what's funny to you is not funny, might not be
Yeah.
funny to me, or it might be funny to both of us,
Hmm.
But this other thing might be not funny to both, to one or the other. You just don't know until you do the comedy what's gonna hit. And so I honestly love that, you know and that's why I'm never worried about if I write something that I think is funny. you know I'm
Right.
not worried that everybody's gonna hate it, because maybe people don't find it funny, but I give it my try. I did stand up for one day, one night. I standed up for one night, and it was pretty bad, and but I was happy I did it. And I actually came on. I like messaged the guy that was running the open stand up thing, open mic night, and he said I came at the wrong time. Apparently there were like so many real comedians who actually showed up and did it that night, because I remember seeing them going, these guys are really funny. Wow. So, like,
Yeah.
right? And I did not realize they were actual real comedians who were up there doing it, not just random people trying like me. And they're like, for your first night, I mean, I didn't piss myself. So that's a good thing.
That's a good thing. Very
Yeah,
good.
I
Yeah.
didn't. I mean,
Well,
you know, I
I've never uh done a comedy. But like some of the people, my actor friends, or my director friends and all that, they said comedy is the hardest genre to make a hit in, like, because it's just so hard. Because when you're trying to be funny, you're typically not going to be funny.
right. I mean, you gotta sort of figure out what, and you know what? I give them credit for going all out on this movie and trying different things, and trying to make something that, I mean, as far as stories go, it had a beginning, a middle, and an end, which is
Hmm.
usually good. Some movies just have a beginning and they just keep going, until it ends. They don't have that middle or whatever. But it had like a three-act structure. It had the part where at the end, I forgot what it's called, like the Dark Night of the Soul, where something sort of bad happens, and the bad happening was her realizing she
That she
wanted to
wanted to
keep the
keep the
kid,
baby.
keep the
Yeah.
kid and stuff. So they had a figure. So they have that fight, and they kind
Hmm.
of break up for a little bit as brothers. They, disband, and then they come back together, and
Yeah.
then they try to figure out how to get out of it. So it had all the structure, like plot points that you're supposed to have in these kind of movies or any kind of movie, period. Um, but it's just I there were times where I wasn't laughing and I felt like I should have been laughing. Like, was that supposed to be funny, or am I not getting this? And I don't know. All in all, I felt like it wasn't a it wasn't a terrible movie. It's not the worst movie of all time, in my opinion. But it wasn't it wasn't as funny as I was hoping, because I was hoping that I would love it way more than you did, and we would have like a Siskel and Ebert thing going, like, where
Uh,
you would tell me why you really hated it, and I would be like countering it with something.
it's just like I said, it wasn't interesting enough to keep my attention.
Yeah,
There's like some comedies that I'm just rolling and like on the floor the whole time, This thing, like it was a hit and miss on what I thought was funny and what wasn't. And I just thought it was very dry.
yeah. What I
Just like
like
a dry
about
comedy.
Judd Apatow generally, and he's the guy who did Knocked Up, and this is 40 and 40-Year-Old Virgin, that kind of stuff. What he's really good at is making comedy and mixing it with drama well enough where it doesn't have to be funny all the time. You look at a movie called Funny People, a lot of people thought it was going to be funny. It was way more dramatic than what they were expecting it to be. And I guess that threw a lot of people off. I love that. To me, that's
I
the
don't think
sign
I've
of
seen.
a
I don't think I've seen that one. I've
you
heard
haven't
of it,
seen
I've heard of it, but I don't think I've seen it.
you haven't seen Funny People? Oh man, it's pretty good. One of Adam Sandler's best comedy drama kind of things. Like I like Punch Drunk Love, and I like Spanglish. I like a lot of his. But I like Adam Sandler. He's one of my favorite comedic actors. But I kind of grew up watching his movies, and everything. So kind of fell in love with his stuff. But yeah, that Funny People is really, really good. And that's what I like. I like if a movie's able to do that because and it's not it has to be funny all the time. When it's a movie like this where it has to be funny all the time, that's the problem. Is there's gonna be issues, because I'm gonna be like going around going, all right, well, Will Arnett and Will Forte are great. I love them to death, but can they keep my attention for an hour and a half? Honestly, I did think it did keep my attention, but I was looking at the clock a couple times going, is this halfway over by now? Like this feels like it should be halfway over by now, and stuff. So, like I said, my favorite scenes are the scenes with James,
Yep.
because when he kept popping up, I was like, yes, keep coming back, buddy.
Oh yeah.
I liked him in it. He became part of the group,
Oh yeah.
and
I think he actually ended up being the center of the group before the baby was born. He was what kept the group.
he kept the group together. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He was the one who like
Who told her to look up?
he told her to look up. He wanted her, but he wanted her happy, like no
Right.
matter what. It was all about her. Like,
Mhm.
do you want to have the baby? But we never saw those scenes. We never saw the scenes where they were talking together separately, or whatever much. So we didn't really get that. But that's what I sort of got was that he wanted her to be happy no matter what. And he had a soft side. He also was a manly man, and everything. He was, very much, I'll kick your ass, if you're trying to steal my girl or whatever, and I mean she was happy to do it, maybe she already knew she was pregnant,
Maybe.
We never know any of this stuff.
But I think like when she went in for the insemination, they would have known, like they would have been able to tell.
I don't know,
And like I said, it could have been possible to where they got her and James got together before they went back to see if the insemination took. And
well, they did well, they dropped him off at home, so he wasn't there that day. So he could have came back to her house, made love to her, then
right.
that
There
day.
was it like a week or two before they went back?
I don't know. I thought it was
I think it was like a week. I think it was like a week or so.
A week? Okay. So anything could have happened in that week, I guess. But I don't that's my biggest problem with the movie is that's never talked about. It's almost like as if, they didn't like they didn't want to talk about it. They wanted to make the dad notice it. So we were like, because when I saw the baby, I go, that's a black baby. Like when he came out and everything, I was like, okay, that is not a And I was like, is that like, was that a mistake? You know, like, did they mean to have like a white baby and stuff? So later we'll see the baby is white, you know, and maybe he's
Yeah.
just really fucking tan when he came out. And then you see it later and you're like, okay, that's definitely a black kid.
Right.
And he
Well,
was a look what?
I was just gonna say, I just think with that, it was never brought up or talked about in the movie is because the Wills, Dean and John, didn't care. They were just happy to have a baby.
Right.
So they didn't. They loved the baby so much they just didn't notice.
They didn't notice. They didn't notice. She's black. I don't know. Like, I almost don't buy that they didn't notice. I almost
Or
think
they just didn't care.
yeah, they didn't care.
They were just happy to have a baby.
Yeah, they were just happy to have the baby, whether or not whatever color or whatever,
Mhm.
whoever's baby it is, you know.
As long as they got to make their dad a grandpa.
Yeah, they did, and they got to have. At the end, they sort of said to her, you know, if you want to keep it, we just want to be in its life, like, you know, she was going to be in the baby's life or whatever. So they all kind of agreed, like, you know,
they're just going to raise the baby together.
Yeah, and I think that was the sweetest thing. And once again, I think it's because Kristen Wiig was so sweet. Her character was sweet. James was sweet. Everybody kind of, you know, like, honestly, in real life, if they had gone to the police station to pick them up after they had literally tried to get a kid to come to
they wouldn't have got
ice cream.
They would not have got out of jail that easy,
right?
If at all.
And they would have had. They would have gone to court, and they would have had. They would have been in. Well, I guess they never touched the kid or anything, so they can't file. They can't like. There's no like young, you know, like, you know how the
right.
sex offenders
Pedophilia,
registry. Yeah, there's none of that. They stopped it before.
Right, and that wasn't even their intent, anyhow.
Yeah, that was not their intent. Their intent was literally to go to ice cream again, but that's the thing. And I don't know, maybe the cops sort of let them go because they sort of realized how dumb they were, and that maybe they really were just doing that. You know, there's never. That's the problem with this comedy is there's sometimes where you're just like, okay, I don't buy this. I don't buy that they're going out of jail. They don't explain, you know, anything enough. They don't explain why, you know, that they're happy that the kids are, you know, the kid's black. You know, it's there's that scene in Me, Myself, and Irene. You ever seen that movie?
I love that movie
with Jim Carrey.
Yes.
And he's got the kids that are all black, triplets. And when they're little kids, one of the guys is like trying to point it out to him, and he's just like, I don't know what you're trying to say, you know, or whatever. And he's like, man, your fucking kids' dicks are bigger than these sausages, you know, or whatever. And he's like, you know, he's all upset about it, right? But he doesn't, like, he kind of holds all the anger back. But like the point was that like somebody had to go and say it, you know, because the audience, as much as they might understand it, might not, they need to still sort of understand that the character knows, you know.
Yeah, he knows. He just didn't care. They were his boys. Those are his boys.
Those were his boys, and he, you know, he raised them right, you know, and everything. He raised them well, and he's just an amazing guy. And sort of like this thing didn't work out that way because they just sort of didn't make any acknowledgement to it. And that's probably one of my biggest problems with it. But all in all, though, it wasn't like, once again, it's not the worst movie. It's not the best movie. It's just sort of meh.
It's just not my style of comedy. That's
not your style of comedy. And I can see where this could be somebody's worst, like, least favorite movie. Yeah. I just know that there are worse movies than this. Trust me. And
you're gonna have to send them to me so I can watch them.
Oh God, there's horror movies though.
Okay, one thing one thing we haven't touched on is all of Will Arnett's creepy facial expressions in every scene.
Yeah,
Now I was just like, oh, dude, those are perfect. I mean,
yeah,
every expression was creepy as fuck.
I know. Which is so
Oh,
funny because I don't remember Will Arnett being that creepy ever, like
mm.
in most movies. He doesn't smile like that. He doesn't. I don't know. There's just something about him in this, that just.
Have you seen Let's Go to Prison?
Oh, I own it somewhere. I think I got it on
Oh my God,
DVD.
him and Chai, is that how you say his
Oh,
name?
is he in that too?
He's in it too.
Wow. Did they work on that together
Yeah,
before?
I don't know. I think Let's Go to Prison came out afterwards.
Really? Hold
Yeah.
on. Because if I'm correct, I'm gonna look this up. But I think Bob Odenkirk directed that too.
I'll absolutely love that movie.
So it's okay. It was a year before, and Bob Odenkirk directed it. And it starred Dax Shepard, Will
Mhm.
Arnett, Chi McBride, David Ketchner, Michael Shannon. Weird. So you don't really see him in that many comedies as much. Oh, that's so funny. But it wasn't written by Will Arnett. I mean, or Will Forte, or anything. It was written by the guys who wrote for The State, which was one of my favorite. I don't know if you ever watched that for MTV. MTV's The State. It was this skit comedy show that they used to put on, and there's this character named Doug who played by Michael Showalter, who would go, it was like, you know, I'm out of here, and he'd like leave or whatever. Like that was his catchphrase or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, those guys write like for Reno 911 and other
Good
stuff,
show. Love that
also
show.
done by the guys who did The State. So, or did The State. So yeah, and Reno 911 is like a lot of people's favorite like cop show, cop comedy, you know. But anyway, all in all, yeah.
Like I said, it couldn't keep my attention.
It's funny that Bob Odenkirk did a funnier movie that you liked, and
I
then
love
did
that
this
movie.
one, which you didn't like. And so goes to show you sometimes
And it's
filmmakers can fall flat,
well, that and it's great acting in this. I'm not taking that away because you and I both being in the film industry. This isn't me dogging their work because I know how much work it takes to put into a movie.
Mhm.
It's just this movie didn't do it for me. That's it.
Yeah.
But
And
let's
some
go to
movies
prison.
won't.
Let's go to prison. Almost felt like a different comedy style, and that's why I loved it. It had darker moments in it.
Yeah. So generally on Hollywood Knockbusters, we do the show based on, and I think if I'm correct, yep. Okay. So my main thing is finding movies that just did not make their money back. Now, first of all, just so you know, when you told me that, this is a movie that you hated and we got to do this for the show, one of the things I did look up and I was remembering and I was trying to think, it cost $10 million to make, right?
This did.
Yeah. It made opening weekend $508,601. It made 4 times the amount that it would have cost to do the skywriting thing for opening weekend, and it grossed worldwide only $1,035,056. It is a Hollywood knockbuster. When I say Hollywood knockbusters, generally I look for movies that just bomb at the box office, and this is a literal bomb. It did terrible. It was in the Dollar Tree. That's where I found this. So it is.
I watched it on YouTube.
Yeah, I got it for $1.25. Am I gonna sell this or something? No, I'm gonna keep it.
You gotta keep it.
I'm gonna keep it mainly because I like to have movies. Period. And never know if you're gonna. I know I have Let's Go to Prison somewhere. I just don't remember ever actually watching it. But I do remember owning it. Buying it at some point, and so really excited about that. Like checking that
Well,
out at some point.
yeah, well, I never consider, is it Shy McBride or Chai or Chi? Him
Sh-
McBride. Uh,
Shy, something
yeah,
like that.
I never pronounce it right, but he had a pet name for Will Arnett's character in this movie, and Let's Go to Prison.
What?
Baby Duck.
Baby duck?
The
Was there a reference to that in this one at all?
dead bait duck in the baby's diaper.
Okay, maybe. Maybe that was
That may have been it. That may have been, but
I don't know. There's nothing in the uh trivia about that, I don't think. Oh, do you remember when the guy freaking when Will I think it was, yeah, it was Will Forte was going on a date with this girl and she looked like she was in high school or something. But he was going on the date and he kissed the father.
yes.
He like because
And
he wanted to make a good impression.
for me, it was the strings of saliva. Did you watch
So
the outtakes for that? Like,
yeah, a little bit,
oh
yeah.
my god.
Um,
Ugh.
Will Forte had a piece of boiled okra in his mouth to create the drool used during the kissing scene. Um, According to the film's commentary, principal, there was a commentary track on the DVD, by the way, with both Wills in it. So that's to me that's kind of cool. Principal photography was done during a record heat wave in California. Most of the scenes the brothers share feature them wearing parkas or similar long sleeve clothing, which caused the actors to get quite hot. So poor guys. But I mean, they could always not wear that. I don't know if it was supposed to be a certain time period, where it's supposed to be looking like it was cold. It was interesting. They say that the name John Solomon comes from Will Forte's friend and writing partner, John Solomon, one of the co-writers of MacGruber. So Will did MacGruber as well. That was his sort of big claim to fame after this. Let's see. Okay, yeah, and the sky banner, John's words are color coded red and Dean's words are in green. And I did like that they kind of color coded them so that they knew when somebody spoke or whatever, like differently. So anyway, all in all, once again I felt like it was okay. I mean it's a movie I probably might watch again. If I'm with somebody that's never seen it or something and wants to watch something really, really silly, I have a feeling my former roommate Jackie would probably get a kick out of this, but she wouldn't like it nearly as much like Step Brothers, but she would probably like it a lot better than you did, and everything.
I
Because
just
you didn't.
it was just dry.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I thought it had some really fun moments that stuck out that were hilarious, and stuff. And
my favorite scenes, like I said, is the driving scenes.
yeah,
Because I was just like, hey, they drive like I do.
I hope you're not parking at outside a hospital and just leaving your car. Like, they're like, you can't park there. And
Watch me. Watch me.
It was so funny because I was kind of expecting them to come back and their car would be towed or something. And they might have had a scene like that, but they skipped to like them getting really excited about now that they're going to go and find a baby.
And did you notice that every scene that they showed that car, as many times as it got crashed, wrecked, whatever, there were never any dents or missing car parts.
That might be that might be a continuity error.
Yeah, and yeah, that drove me crazy because that's.
I mean, or it might be a running joke. I don't know. There were some goofs in it. The scene where the brothers are typing the ad for the Craigslist post, two blinking lines can be seen. One from where they clicked on the dialogue box, and one which is in the overlay. Let me see if they say anything about the scene where the microwave trips the electricity. We can talk about that. where they decide that Dean will revive the father while John gets the circuit breakers. Dean runs to the circuit breakers while John runs to the father. After the light comes back, Dean is at the father while John is at the circuit breakers. So I think that wasn't a goof. I think that was literally like a joke when they're like, "Go, you go there, I'll go there," and they go to the exact opposite of what they said. It's supposed to be a joke, which I didn't find funny because it wasn't it just wasn't done well enough where I was just like, that's pretty funny.
See, and that was the one thing I didn't notice.
What? You didn't notice that? Yeah, I did notice that because I was like, wait, didn't he say he's going to go over? But I didn't make me laugh, I wasn't like, ha ha, he went there and he went there, because it wasn't done well enough, I guess. I don't know, or maybe it wasn't a funny joke. That's one of the other things is like, I looked at those kind of scenes and I was like, is that supposed to make me laugh? And I think it was, but it wasn't done well enough, I guess. I don't know. I can't say anything. Like you said, comedy is tough, and I've never written a comedy that I've made, or whatever. Like I've written tons of comedies that haven't been made or aren't gonna ever be made,
Right.
And that's the thing is you look at that going, you think this is the worst movie of all time. I think it was funny enough, where I was okay with it, but yeah, it does not hold up as like this is the greatest, this is the funniest comedy or anything. Maybe they weren't really trying to do that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they're just trying to make something that just made people laugh in a way, like at all. So
yeah,
I don't know. If it made you laugh at all, I think it did a good job.
Well, it didn't. Like I said, the car wreck scenes cracked me up.
The way the bluntness of their characters, especially the James, cracked me up.
And like I said, Will Arnett's creepy expressions. It's like, because I seen him at many other movies, and it was never like that. I've seen him get interviewed just as Will. You don't smile like that, So that was, I like that.
He seems like a very good human being. So very happy I got to watch this. So thank you for choosing it. I will, like I said, I'll probably watch it again at some point, but not anytime soon. I may even one day just listen to the commentary because I want to hear what they have to say necessarily about the making of it. And maybe I would love to hear, I should have listened to it because I wanted to hear what their thoughts on their characters not ever picking up on the fact that their baby is black,
Yeah.
I just wanted that. I wanted that reassurance that, yeah, we were pretty sure to make it so you couldn't, so that our characters were just too happy, but, didn't say anything about
too happy
that.
Too happy.
Just didn't notice. And they are sort of oblivious to things. Like when the cops pull up, they didn't once think, oh man, those cops are here to talk to us. They're just pulling up asking us a question, like. And
they were honest with the cops, man. It's just like, yeah, you're not supposed to lie to cops, but you're not supposed to tell them you're stalking children and you're waiting on their mom to go away. Come on, man.
Well, I mean, they weren't thinking they were doing anything wrong.
No, they were learning.
And they're going to sue. They were going to sue the people for arresting them.
Like I said, it makes a lot of sense because of the way they were raised. It was only ever the three of them. They were never around other humans. No other.
Well,
kids.
Except for the Eskimos that they're whatever
for the prom.
Yeah, for the prom, which is so funny.
What did you think about that argument about he got his throwing a fit in it about his trophies? And he was like, I got voted prom king.
Yeah, prom king. That was what I was thinking.
Yeah, Will Forte's like, so it was just the two of them.
Yeah, and they tied.
Right.
And he was like, oh, but I won the tiebreaker. Okay, fine. You beat me at being the prom king, like it doesn't matter now, anyway. But it was so funny because, yeah, they got voted prom king because they're the only 4 people at the prom, so it was weird. But it was sort of like, okay, this, like it happened. It was a movie. Apparently Bill Hader was in this movie, and I'm really sad. Like he was like a bicyclist or something.
Yes.
I don't remember the bicyclist in this.
It wasn't a normal bike. It was like one of
So,
those ones that's seated and it's got like the 3 wheels.
right? Where was that?
Um,
I don't
they were
remember
coming
seeing
out.
that.
They were coming out of. I don't remember the scene now. I remember seeing them, but I don't remember the scene.
Did he say anything or do anything?
He
Like,
just had like said a few words, and that was it.
yeah, like why would you put Bill Hader in the movie and give him like
Guest
such a
appearance.
small part? Even the other girl, Jenna Fisher had a bigger part,
Yeah.
and she was a lesser. I mean, she wasn't as famous at that time. Maybe she was. This is 2007. Yeah, she was famous from Office because
Yeah.
2005, I believe, was The Office, and everything. So everybody knew her as Pam, and she kind of
Mhm.
played a Pam.
Yeah.
Like
That's
she was.
exactly. I meant. Exactly. I was like, what is like she playing Pam in this too? Because that's the way
Yeah,
her character
it's
behaves.
the same character. I mean,
Yeah.
I think she can do other stuff. I actually like there is she directed a movie once, that's in Trauma, the Trauma Library, which is really funny. It was a mockumentary, called Lolly Love, and it was her and her husband at the time, James Gunn, who's now the president of fucking DC films and everything. This guy did Scooby Doo, and he did Guardians of the Galaxy, 1, 2, 3, whatever. And so he and her are like this, they're playing themselves, and basically Jenna Fisher likes to go out and hand out lollipops to homeless people with like messages on them, like inspirational messages or whatever. And that's like the idea of the documentaries. She wants to do something nice for the homeless community.
So she gives them lollipops.
Yeah, it gives them lollipops, and it's called Lolly Love. It's funny and it's cute, and I want to show it to one of my friends because I think he would get a kick out of my co-host Paul, because he's got to think she's a cutie pie, and she's, a lot of people don't like, I guess, the Pam character after a while or whatever. I only saw about 5 seasons of The Office, or 4 or 5, so I don't really know how it sort of goes with her character or whatever. But I don't know. I dug her in it. I thought she was cute and funny.
Good.
Yeah, but she does play a very similar character in this one. And so I think maybe that was another reason they picked her, was because like she can kind of keep that character going for herself and everything. It's just sort of like, really, you could have made her like a completely different person than Pam. That way she could have fun with it, in my opinion.
Well, I just think that her character in this one was in shock about the way he was behaving. So she's just like,
yeah, you don't talk about my ovaries,
Yeah, so I think that's why her character was behaving the way she was, is because she was in shock.
Yeah,
and she was appalled.
For sure. So I don't know. I liked it. I mean, I didn't like the movie. I liked certain scenes, and I thought it had moments where, and you said you saw this before and then you just rewatched it today, right?
When my husband was deployed, he got a bunch of movies overseas and sent them to us, and that was one of the ones that we got.
Nice. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to checking out more stuff by these guys, especially Bob Odenkirk, Saul from Better Call Saul.
Yeah, I love that. I love that one.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like, him in this movie just didn't feel like Saul, I don't think, like he just did he's so funny. And if you ever watch, there's a great show that was on HBO. I don't know if it's on HBO Max because it was an HBO show. should be on HBO Max. It's called Mr. Show, and it's with Bob and David, and it's got Bob Odenkirk and David Cross, and it is so funny. Like it is much funnier than this. Like it's skit comedy. It's different skits, Saturday Night Live type stuff or whatever. It's more like Key and Peele, I guess, where they introduce the stuff and they talk to the audience and stuff. Then they talk about the skits that they're about to do and stuff. And so I guess Key and Peele is sort of like Mr. Show, like a Black Mr. Show, I don't know. Even though I think Key and Peele's a little funnier, honestly, but I think Mr. Show was a good way to start it off. So anyway, yes, that's about it. We talked a lot about this movie. a lot longer than I was expecting, actually. Because at one point I was like, "Are we gonna have even enough to say about this movie?" It seemed like there wasn't a lot that happened.
There was, like I said, to me it was just such a dry comedy that it couldn't keep my attention. But it did have its super funny points, but I'll probably never watch it again.
Probably never watching. Is it available for streaming? I always like to let people know that.
It's actually on. You can rent it on YouTube.
Okay, you can rent it on YouTube. You can also rent it on Amazon Prime. I'm surprised it's not on Tubi. Like, I feel like Tubi gets like these bad movies that nobody else wants, and they're just like, yeah, all right, let's just give it a Tubi, and people will watch it if they like, looking around and they see Will Arnett and Will Forte in a movie. I mean, great cast, just not as funny as it should be. So I'm glad that it's out there. Yep. I'm sad that it didn't make enough money. But I can kind of see why. Probably word of mouth just came and people were like, don't go see that movie. It was not that funny, and stuff. So there you go. Well, thank you, Amielynn. Or what have you been up to?
Not much right now. I had like some projects that I was supposed to be filming this month that got pushed back to next year.
That happens.
So, it happens.
When people are new in the film business, they don't realize that sometimes, and they get really frustrated and mad. And I'm like, don't get mad, because you have to understand this happens way too much. It's usually because people just don't have the money yet, or they have the money and it falls through. It happens all the time.
Oh yeah, and then one of them that I'm actually really excited about. One of the locations, like the lady backed out, even though she gave us permission to film there. She said she didn't feel comfortable having a film crew there after we'd already rented the place. And so we had to reschedule for another time. Well, like it's going to be like the weekend after Thanksgiving, but I'm not available then. So I was like, look, if you have to recast that character to get the movie done, I understand. But just to be able to stay with that character, they pushed it back to next year.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and then that way it gives the director or the writer more time to hone in on everything that he wants to happen.
Understandable. And I mean, it sucks when location. You don't realize sometimes, like Hollywood, that happens too. Like sometimes Hollywood films, maybe the budget just falls through somehow or another, and that they have to take the movie away, right. Or whatever. And so it happens. I mean, I'm just glad you're still staying strong through it and doing what you can. Yep. And everything. And how can people reach you?
They can reach me on Facebook Messenger. I have my regular page, then I have my Amielynn Woodall actor page.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on Instagram, on Snapchat, TikTok. I'm just all over the place.
Awesome. Well, everybody look up Amielynn Woodall. The name will be on here so you guys can check her out and everything. Also, understand I will be doing one more episode. So there'll be 5 episodes in the season. I always hate kind of ending on an odd number, but it's just the way it's going to have to be this year. Doing that, and then we'll have one more in December. Then we'll have a break from January and February and come back in March. So I could have brought it back in and still had it in January, but I'm just like, no, because then that'll throw off my next season, you know. And
how many different podcasts do you have going?
well,
I know you got
you probably don't want to know.
I know you
way too many. In fact, it was funny because I was telling one of my friends, "Oh, by the way, I'm thinking of doing another one. Next, not next year, but the next year after that. So 2024. I've got a plan for another one, but we'll be recording earlier in 2000, like mid 2023, and then bringing it up because I like to get things done ahead of time if I can. That way. So this one's been sort of having issues because a lot of times people can't watch the movie that I want to do or whatever. So I have to pick things like people can watch, or this one I was lucky because you already have a copy of it or you've seen it, you know it. But like some movies, they're only available on like Amazon or something, or you have to only buy the DVD. And so I have to find people who actually own the DVD or whatever to do this. So it's a little harder sometimes, but it's probably one of my favorite shows just because I like talking about Hollywood stuff because I get to talk about my indie stuff, a lot, and that's fun. But after a while, I'm like, I want to talk more about Hollywood and everything, So, but yeah, even the bad Hollywood movies, the ones that aren't so great, like the Knockbusters out there. But some of the Knockbusters are some of my favorite movies. So I Married Axburner. That was a Hollywood Knockbuster. Did not do very well. So I Married an Axe Murderer.
I think I've seen that a long time ago.
Yeah, Empire Records. That didn't do very well. Things like that. I mean, we're eventually going to do stuff like PCU, which I love to death. Most of these are movies I love. Sometimes I'll do ones that I don't love or have never seen. Like this one I never saw, and I didn't love it, but I thought it was, it was okay. I mean, it wasn't anything I would, run out and want to watch again. But, aside from that, so anywho, hope you're going to be doing well this, Thanksgiving and everything, and have fun with your family and everybody else. This will be out, I think, right after Thanksgiving or before Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody. And get ready for that. So until then, everybody, bye.